Do you want to pay less in taxes, increase your income, and donate to your favorite charity for the rest of forever?
I'm Les Winston, and I'm the host of Funny Money. And the show Funny Money, of course, established based on the idea of turning tax dollars into spendable dollars. And so they created a section of the code, which is Section 664, which allows people, if they're willing to promise to leave something at death to charity, they can have lower taxes while they're alive.
Charity of their choice.
Charity of their choice, right. And that's called, we've actually named that now. We call that Social Secharity.
It's a Funny Money Monday. Brought to you by First SOS Staffing. We've taken our staffing outsourcing service to the next level with a flexible outsourcing model that allows small and big businesses to choose from a list of our most talented and passionate people to best suit the needs of your business. First SOS Staffing, firstsosstaffing.com. Here's your host, Les Winston.
Welcome to today's edition of Endow AMERICA Network to teach you about how to use Social Secharity over the next decade. This 2020 to 2030 decade promises to be pretty interesting. Maybe as interesting as the 1920s and 1930s. Think about that decade. Hey, Wanda.
End of the last century?
I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised guest appearancing here.
Wanda, how
hey
are
there.
you? Nice to see you.
So when you say this decade, so it hasn't been this crazy for a whole millennium.
No, actually, I think we're at a point now where, I think the world is changing. And I mean, I think...
quickly.
Yeah, I think where countries are more interested in the economies and not necessarily in being belligerent or being, other things that are not really good for the world. So we'll see. Things are changing.
Well, the world's getting smaller. Is that how that goes?
Oh, yeah. Well,
we're getting closer.
We're in touch with everybody anywhere in the world.
I know.
You can pick up your phone, call somebody in China, and talk to them right now.
I know. I don't miss people as much as I used to.
How do they do that anyway? How did that happen?
It's like when you went away before, you kind of went away.
Yeah. It was like you didn't know where they went.
I know.
So now we have tracking devices.
Yes.
So everybody's carrying one of them. But anyway, this decade promises to be very unusual. In the 1920s, if you think about what happened with cars and planes and electric and radio, black and white movies.
TV and
silent
stuff.
movies.
Yeah.
So we're going to change this decade, I think, and one of the things we want to do is Endow America in this decade. That's what this program's all about, what the Endow America Network is about.
The good news is that now we have technology that can get this information out to people quickly and broadly.
Yeah, at least they'll understand that this exists. Most people don't even know the section of the code, Section 6.
Hear ye, I'm on my pony.
664. That's the section of the tax code that we're dealing with. Yeah, like a Section 529 or a Section 401k. People don't know that those terms come from the code. They're sections of the tax code.
Sounds like a great song.
Frankie Prevett.
There's a rock song in that 664.
Yeah, 664 Not War.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Actually, I wrote a little ditty about that, but I can't sing.
Ditty.
So the 664 Not War is a really interesting concept because if the young people think about this,
trademark.
Yeah, they can go and put aside money for themselves in the form of Social Secharity, different than Social Security, but similar. And they can put the money into the Social Secharity account and get income later. And then when something happens to them, when they pass, that money will actually stay in their community and go to a place that they want to direct it to, which is a big difference between that and Social Security, for example.
Yeah, it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
That was special.
Did you just get a ring?
Somebody did. Or maybe it's just a ringing in my head.
Okay.
And your head.
Tinnitus? Anyone? So we have this opportunity now.
Yes.
Now with the technology out there to be able to spread the word pretty well.
I know.
Pretty good.
It's exciting.
Is it pretty good? Pretty well. Pretty good.
Either way.
It'll be pretty good.
It's going to be good.
Yes. So we're going to have the opportunity to spread the word, and hopefully people will take up on it. And in particular, in the state of Florida, we want to help the school system with the Social Secharity as well.
Yeah.
So I know that the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce, a local chamber of commerce down here, is adopting, working with Safe Schools, Great Schools.
Yay.
And that organization their intention is to make schools safe and great by assisting with funding. And the point is that it really requires money to do a lot of things that need to be done. And getting money from taxes alone doesn't necessarily always work. So we want to supplement the tax dollars. We want to supplement a way to support the schools. And we think that schools should have their own endowments. Like Harvard has an endowment.
Yeah.
The Miami Beach High School can have an endowment. The Aventura Sofer School in Aventura could have an endowment. Any school can have its own endowment, as long as there's a way to operate that endowment and to fund it. And we want to fund it using social security. That's the concept that we want to get across. It's a new thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's something you haven't heard before.
I know.
Social charity.
It's nice.
Social charity.
There's a song right there.
Not social security, but social charity.
So you change.
Yeah, sounds good. Say you're changing the U for an HA. That's all you really do. It's like U for a ha, and U for a ha.
We've got a hit on our hands.
I think so. It's even got a beat. U for an ah. So here you go. You got this time frame now where we've got the next 10 years, this decade. Let's make this decade really important to the state of Florida. Let's see if we can change the way we do things a little bit. It's a way to add something that's a benefit to the community without making it painful, because people, when they make a contribution to this kind of thing, they get income back and they get a tax deduction.
That's the good news.
So the thing is, they can use that just like they use a 401k or a Section 529 plan. They can use a 664 plan.
Section 529? What's that?
Funny you should ask. The college funding that we're allowed to do using Section 529 provides you with a way to put money into an account, let it grow tax-free, and then you can spend it on college education. You don't get a tax deduction for it, but you do get tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawal if it's used for college. So that's a benefit that's in that section of the code. If you go to Section 529 of the Internal Revenue Code, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you that you will find in that very section of the code, which says 529, it tells you how to do that. There's a recipe there for how to set up a 529 plan.
A recipe.
A recipe. Same thing's true with 401k.
Yum.
That's right. And then there's 664. So we want 529, 401k, 664, folks. We want you to remember that terminology.
So
and then you can also
charity.
Well, it's important. This is one of the things that we'd like you to do is go to the website socialsecharity.org.
Yep.
And check out what's there. We're trying to educate you about a lot of things that are going on in the country with regard to the philanthropic planning that can be done and how we can better things.
It can better your whole community.
Yeah.
And your life at the same time. That's what I like. While you're alive and when you go.
Right.
And you're going to go.
Yeah, you're going to leave a legacy.
Hate to break it to you.
You leave a legacy.
That's it.
Think about what happens if I was explaining to somebody today, they said, well, Social Security. I said, what do you get back from Social Security when you die? And he looked at me and said, I don't know, I'm dead. So I said, well, wait a minute. Let's assume for argument's sake you're not married. You put money in every year. The government requires you to put money into Social Security.
Sure.
And now you reach age 60, let's say 67, and one day when you were able to receive the benefits and you pass away.
Dang.
What happens? Where does that money go?
It goes to the government that I love.
It's gone. It's gone. Well, people love government. That's what happens. I don't know. I don't know if the young people actually love the government.
No.
I would hope that they would think about it as far as their Social Security is concerned. Are they going to get it? That's one of the issues.
Well, if you love your country, you can do it broader, I would think, through a social security plan, because that way you're helping your community right there where you are, as per se. It just goes to the government.
You know, Wanda, that's a really great point, because when you do social security, you're helping your country,
Get it right.
but you're not using the government.
Right.
If you do Social Security, you're helping yourself and using the government. There's a difference.
And are you really helping yourself? I mean, not all that much. I think.
Well, Social Security does help you because
a little bit.
The government kind of said. The government said at one point, we don't think people are capable of taking care of their own retirement, so we're going to give everybody something.
And that's if there's any left for those that are.
Well, if you talk to a 25 or 30-year-old, we ask them, are you going to get Social Security? And they say, no, it's going to end in 2032. Oh. They already know the day.
I'm glad they thought that through.
Well,
here's a plan.
Another way of doing something.
Exactly.
An alternative. You got to think outside the box a little bit, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about
build a better box.
A new innovation in the world of Social Security and Social Security, 664. Anyway, thanks for listening to Endow America Network, brought to you by First SOS Staffing, which is a really fine company here in South Florida.
Finding jobs for folks all over the place.
Exactly. You can go to their website and you can find out more about First SOS Staffing.
And parking.
And parking? Yeah, First SOS. That's right. First
Valet?
SOS.
Or is it just parking?
First SOS parking.
Oh, I see the owner and CEO hovering about.
Really?
It'd be nice to talk to him about what his company does.
You know what? That's a good idea.
All right.
What a great
I'll go
intro.
Fetch Peter.
Okay. Thanks, ladies. Peter, nice to see you.
Well, thank you.
My good friend Peter Mendez has joined us at the mic. And Peter, welcome. We just were explaining a little bit about First SOS Staffing. Maybe you can give us a little more about how First SOS Staffing can help individuals looking for employment.
And beautiful day here in South Florida. It's wonderful to be with the two of you. I'm always grateful for the opportunity to record. As you know, First SOS is an outsourced staffing company. We provide staff primarily to the hospitality industry, lots of hotels, resorts, food and beverage venues, stadiums, Hard Rock Stadium, Marlin Stadium, BB&T, things along those lines.
What do the employees do there?
All sorts of things, from working the concession stands to collecting tickets, doing post-event cleanup.
Are they allowed to watch the game?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I try and sneak in. I'll hold a broom throughout the duration of the game.
I was going to say, just let me know where you were.
The Super Bowl is one of the events.
That's going to be great.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So, essentially, we provide or support our clients, the hotels, the resorts, and so forth, in all sorts of positions. Everything from front desk agents, pool and beach attendants, porters. Chefs,
are you only in Dade County, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County?
Presently, yes. We're in the process of expanding to West Florida, which should happen this season. We service something to the order of about 100 or so different hotels and resorts, all primarily on the beach, and then stadiums, restaurants.
What's the opportunity for people to get employed, to be employed?
The best thing is just to go to our website, firstsos.com. That's the number 1 ST, not the word, First SOS as in Save Our Souls.com, and just go through the process there. Immediately after completing an application, you'll get an alert from one of our account managers, and we've got a lot of demand. We have 600 people, plus people employed presently. We're in the midst of season. We're doing all sorts of major events with all of the different resorts. So please come to firstsos.com, register. Let us help you meet your financial requirements.
That's great. It's funny, but when you're always working, you're not really thinking about what it would be like to not have a job or to not have an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's really part of the issues that we have in our country today. I mean, people need to have purpose, and they need to be self-sufficient, be independent, and so on. And we had a really interesting discussion this morning about this issue of endowing America, and this is the decade between 2020 and 2030 to work on endowing America using this social secharity, which is the new generation of Social Security. And the idea behind that, I just wanted to get your take on how do you envision that being able to make a change in education in Florida? How would we be able to go about changing the way funding is done for schools?
From a macroeconomic perspective, you made reference about the similarities between this time and the period of the 1920s and 30s, right? There are several factors that are very large-scale type factors that are divisive for our entire population. It isn't until the 1930s or since the 1930s that we have had such a spread between the wealthiest and the poorest here in our country. A very small percentage of people, you keep hearing that, own 95% of all of the assets in this country. In addition to that, it isn't since the 1930s that the Federal Reserve or the government has had such few resources by which to be able to influence the economy when interest rates are at or near zero. There's very little that the government can do by way of lowering interest rates or printing additional funds or anything along those lines to actually impact those sections of the community that are not benefiting from the economic boom. The current government or institutions, educational institutions, are already challenged or burdened. There are worn out paths towards financing those things that the community need that are restricting the areas that need additional funding from receiving them.
It's how they apportion the money, where it goes.
Correct. And as such, it's imperative that, hey, listen, in the 1930s, soup kitchens made tremendous contributions towards providing our country a leg up to the point until they could sustain themselves by capitalizing on the subsequent economic boom. And there are a lot of people out there, there are a lot of communities, a lot of schools that don't have books, that don't have sufficient number of pencils, that need to break pencils in half and sharpen both ends in order to be able to supply all of their students. You don't hear about that type of thing when unemployment is at record lows, but that continues to exist. So it's imperative to be able to come up with a grassroots solution to apply the penicillin at the point of pain.
The community helping the community. Soup kitchens was community helping community.
Yes, absolutely.
I just wonder why that doesn't happen now in places like Los Angeles and San Francisco where they have such a homeless problem. Is it because we've become so separated from each other in human terms? It's almost hard to believe that a city could be that callous about people to allow that to be going on.
I think that the concept of government taking care of everything has made us complacent. You know, in the 1930s, to your point in our conversation this morning, Washington really became an entity as it is in 1929. You know, prior to that, this country relied on community and family caring for its own. And when you have a mindset that the government is ultimately responsible for providing and caring for, you end up having something that is not very personal, that is not going to pay attention to your individual needs. It can never compete with family and community.
Well, it has a hard time because of the numbers, and the job that they're trying to do is not easy to begin with. Trying to take care of a community of, especially of 330 million people, more, probably 350 million right now. If they can get it down to the community level, break it down into small numbers where a community can take care of its needs through endowment, which is one of the things we've been talking about. And that's one of the reasons for the Endow AMERICA network. We want people to become part of this network. We want them to understand that there's a way for them to help their community while they help themselves by increasing the amount of income that they can get later on, and also by reducing their taxes. They can help the community at the end of the day. And we call it the new generation of Social Security because it is kind of a new generation of Social Security in the sense that they're very similar. Social Security is providing income from the government, and the government set up a way for charities to provide the income instead of government. And if you do it that way, they reward you by reducing your taxes. And that's what people most don't know. They don't know that it even exists. Section of the code, Section 664. You know what a 529 is, right?
No, actually, I needed to ask you that.
Okay. 529, Section 529 is a way for college, for parents to pay for their children's college education. That's what it was designed to do. It allows the parents to put money into an account, allow that account to grow tax-free, and then when the individuals are ready to go to college, they can withdraw the money tax-free. So it's a benefit that's described in the tax code at Section 529. So a lot of people know what that is who have college-age kids and so on. They know where it is because it's been advertised. It's been discussed. It's been talked about.
Yeah.
Even more prevalent is the 401k, for example. I don't have to ask you if you know what a 401k is. I'm sure you do because most people know what it is. It's a way to retire, and it's a program where you get a tax deduction. The point that I'm making is that those sections of the code which are known to people, the numbers, they're known because it's been told to them over a long period of time. So Section 664, which is the section of the code that we want to use to endow America, that's the one that we want people to become familiar with because it's so important and vital to them to be able to use that. And that goes along with what you're talking about, is how does government really do what we're talking about properly, or should government be doing what government provided for us to do, letting us do it ourselves, and government has assisted us by doing what they did with the code? It's a better choice. You're a very integral part of what we're doing. I appreciate that you're willing to serve on the advisory board of the Safe Schools, Great Schools project. It's actually a national project, but it's actually also a Florida project, primarily right now.
Well, I'm the one that is very grateful. I regard it a privilege to be able to participate in something that can impact so many lives and so fundamentally change our country toward the better, right? By capitalizing on the principles that this country was based upon. To your question earlier in terms of why do you think that type of community involvement isn't taking place now as it did in the 30s? Mutual support. You know, to a certain extent, there's a twofold reaction for me to that. First of all, in my view, government isn't good, wasn't designed to care for its people. I believe that's somewhat of a semi-socialist misconception. No government is ever going to care for you better than your family and or your community is, or at least should. We know plenty of families and communities where
it doesn't work.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be at their behest. But in addition to community being able to do that so much more effectively, when you ask the question, why do you think it hasn't happened? Until you brought this to my attention, I had no idea that there was such an effective resource that you could replicate that which the government imposes on a mandatory basis by way of Social Security, that you could do something comparable to that yourself volitionally, and that the benefits that you would have as a result of those contributions would far outweigh or significantly outweigh the income and other results that you would have during the drawing phase of that, in addition to leaving a legacy.
When you're talking about the next generation, Social Security being the next generation of Social Security,
right? And
how they work together. Actually, they were intended, I think, to work together until one would replace the other. I do think that Congress had that in mind in 1969. I really do believe that. I think they knew then that the demographics were going to change so significantly that they had to pass this law, the Section 664. But this is available to anybody who wants to get income later on and who wants to, instead of leaving no legacy behind, they have an opportunity to leave a legacy in the community, and they can actually do something good.
Understood. Okay, so here I am, a person that is earning $100,000 a year. Right. And I determined that this is an appropriate tool for me to use for my retirement planning and tax planning. How do I go about doing what?
It depends.
You're a family of four.
Yep.
And you have discretionary investment income of, say, $20,000 a year. And my objective is to significantly enhance my retirement income. I'm at say, 40 years old.
Okay, so the first thing would be, have you satisfied all of the, what we call qualified plan availability that you can take? And that means if you're using an IRA to accumulate money, have you maxed out your IRA? If you're using a 401k to accumulate money, are you maxed out in your 401k? If you're using a pension or profit sharing plan through a business, are you maxed out on those? As long as you're maxed out on those, then you would want to look for other ways to reduce taxes. So you need to be in a position where you've utilized all of what you have available to you. Because not everybody has a 401k available. Not everyone has a profit sharing pension plan. Most people have an IRA. Everybody would have an IRA available. They would utilize the max there. And then if they wanted to accumulate more, they can't add more to Social Security. If you give Social Security more than they're entitled to get, they'll refund it. So you can't buy more Social Security.
Oh, so there actually is a way to get more from Social Security than they would normally allocate to you. Okay, fair enough.
I don't think so. But anyway, the Social Security, however, is available in addition. So if you're in a position where you have more money that you want to invest for retirement purposes, you can do it getting a tax deduction, even at the younger ages, because if you're using pooled income funds, young pooled income funds, those have fairly good tax deductions even at the younger ages. Mm-hmm. You know what it's like? It's like dollar cost averaging with mutual fund investments. It's like taking a monthly payment and putting into an investment account, except that instead of it being a mutual fund, it's a charitable mutual fund. It's a similar concept. Mm-hmm. So accumulating money or saving money is most successful when it's done on that basis. Small increments that you really don't notice. That's why 401k plans are easy for employees to deal with because a certain amount's coming out or the employer's adding a certain amount. But you can do that with an IRA, do that with a SEP. You can do it with a lot of plans, but with a Social Security plan, you can do it the same way. So you have dollar cost averaging by buying over time and buying in small increments, and you're basically investing the money in a pooled income fund, is what it's called, a pooled income fund trust.
Okay, fair enough. So each year I make this $20,000 contribution, and from that $20,000 that I contribute, a certain amount is tax deductible.
Yes, because of your age, and you're going to get income back for a long period of time.
Right.
Okay, so thank you. And go to our website, socialsecharity.org, socialsecharity.org. Find us on Facebook, too, right? Thank you, Wanda.
Yeah. Same with First SOS Staffing. That's the number 1 STSOS, as in Save Our Ship, .com. And thank you very much for having us.
And thank you for supporting. This is the Endow America Network, and my guest is Peter Mendez. He is our actual co-host. And co-hosting with Peter is a pleasure. We always have very interesting conversations with regard to this type of mix. It's a very, we come at it from two different perspectives, but both have the same purpose in mind, to make things better in the community, because we all benefit from a better community, one way or the other.
Yep.
Very Confucian. So anyway, I want to thank you for being co-host this morning. And Wanda, thank you. And we'll see you next time. Again, this is the Endow America Network, and we want to change things in the next decade, 2020 to 2030. We want to endow America using the next generation of Social Security. It's a lot to say, but it says a lot. We've actually named that now. We call that Social Secharity.
Social Secharity. Find out more when you visit socialsecharity.org. Join us for the podcast. What will you do with your funny money?